So you can, read those against this. So you have a little bit of houses. There are always one or two people, like here, and by having a small, like my former students always called their size of ant, and then we put a little bit of a figure in the pavilions or on the boat, so that it contrasts with a colossal scale of nature. So nature gives us some, can I say, moral lessons, right? Like we are, even though I am the prime minister, what do I mean to the nature? Basically useless and nothing, right? So I should be humble, so that's kind of moral lesson. So I have more for you to read, but this is really great example. But let me quickly go back whether I have my examples of the brush strokes in this new slide I made. This is what I want to explain. So the Pyun technique is the inner working of brush strokes on the rock. So in brush and ink painting, you cannot really make a thick texture as you see on oil painting. So what you do is you use different variations of ink, darkness of ink, using the surface of your brush. Like, brush dipped in the ink would look like this, right? You have your holding part, bamboos or wood, and then you have long hair. Like imagine that you have your long hair of yourself. So depending on how you are using the angle, like this, or like you are going to use angle like this, you can control the thickness of the surfaces, and then you layer them so that eventually you create certain textures. So you can see right here, it's not really that European style modeling, but you can see that these are rocks, right? Versus if you see here, it's actually a little bit more with wrinkles, but a little bit more soft. And then here, it's totally different techniques. And then, so what we are saying is, Angyeon or court painters are good at all kinds of these brush strokes. And then this one is a sort of watercolor. Like instead of using that dry descriptive brush ends, you just dip it and then let it smudge, or you can do this. But all of them has its purposes. And then these are really popular cases with the small X and large X, and that are very useful to draw smaller rocks in the foreground. But I wanted to show you one thing. Not all painters were painters. This kind of work, animal painting, everybody loves puppies, right? Puppies, and then another puppy, like 3 puppies are suckling the mommy puppy. Right? So Yi was a Yangban painter. He was a government official, but for his hobby, for his leisure, he painted. He painted well. So in his case, he didn't use a lot of fancy brush strokes. He just used soft watercolor, and then like these ink gradations for puppies and dogs. So professional painters like Angyeon were able to use more versatile brush strokes. In late Joseon Dynasty, some literati artists, meaning Yangban painters like Yam, intentionally avoid using textured brush strokes to distinguish themselves from professional painters. So it's if you ever know what brand is, right, what self-marketing is, it's like creating your own distinction. So you don't want to look like a court painter. Like it's more like what I wanted to say is you want to look a little bit of more natural. Do you see this expression? Like, do you know who Stella McCartney is, designer? Like, Stella McCartney versus who's really Versace. Do you see the difference between Stella McCartney and Versace? That kind of difference. You don't want to see too decorative, or you don't want to artificial and you want to look natural, like a Stella McCartney style like a dress or fashion, like a natural, but high scale, those kind of elements. So this is a painting at the Metropolitan Museum. So I'm going back here. This is not on display, but it is an important example because it has all the documents. So Angyeon is dead by circa 1551, but in the middle of the 16th century, Angyeon's style was still dominant among professional painters. So I want to explain that who then hire professional painters. Also, court painters at court, they can also work on private commissions. Do you know the word called moonlighting? You have a full-time job, but like under the moonlight, you can also work for other projects, right? So court painters, they also have this moonlighting project. So this one is anonymous, but we are sort of certain that this was painted by one of those court painters as a unofficial commission, it's like a private commission. So painting is called Gathering of Government Officials. So I want you to find government officials. This is not a landscape painting. This is figure painting in disguise of landscape. So what the purpose is, it should be look like more like your graduation album, like you gather together on a field trip or a field day, and then everybody should be included. That purpose is a figure painting, but the landscape is in style of Angya. So where do you see government officials? Yes. Who's this?
They're on trees at the bottom front.
Thank you. Yes. So right there, right? It's easier to find. These are the Yangban, government officials. And then this is again somehow like a beautiful summertime or something. They gather together in a beautiful mountain. And these are their attendees, like servants. There are people who are carrying food or picnic tables for them, and they are here. So that poem that I am writing over here is written right here. And again, how I know painted is written because it is written right here. But unfortunately, we don't have the name of the painter. Because it's a commission, it's not his own. So he didn't put the name. Leah, can you read a poem here?
Born in the same year, we stood shoulder to shoulder, passed the civil or military examination at more or less the same time. Time passes, and now we are facing 70 years of age. Dressed in elegant clothing and hats, wise men meet. We emulate the literary gathering of Luoyang, and the painting shows respect for the elders following Shangsan. We pause in our busy schedules and recite poetry over wine, and hasten back to the offices to labor day and night. Our gathering is humble and frugal, modeled after Jin Sol Ho. Whoever said loftiness is easily followed. Lacking poetry for this great event, I raise my glass. Lacking talent, my thoughts turn blank. Written in the latter half of the 12th month of 1551.
Thank you.